It's my pleasure as principal of Marshall Street School to welcome you to the dedication of our additions to our school. 2 years ago, November 1989, we began a $3 3/10 million project to add 6 classrooms, a lead teacher's office, a library, a gymnasium, and an enlarged kitchen. At the same time, a new roof was put on the entire building. Now, most of this work was done while school was in session, and this required a great deal of cooperation on the part of the students, the staff, and the contractors. It was a learning experience for all of us. We had our good days and our bad days, but we all worked together knowing the end result would be beneficial to everyone. We're excited and delighted with our new addition, and we're anxious for you to tour the building at the conclusion of the program. We presently have an enrollment of 630 students in 31 classrooms, and that includes 3 special education classes. We have a staff of 67, and right now we have 8 student teachers with us from Penn State for the whole semester. Today, and every Tuesday and Thursday this fall semester, we have 15 student practicum teachers with us from Westchester University. Now, our kindergarten classes are still housed at Stewart Middle School, and we're looking forward to their return next year upon the completion of the elementary school on Whitehall Road. As I look out into the audience, I see so many people here who have supported or worked for our school and the school district through the years. School board members, parent-faculty club presidents, retired teachers, administrators, present and former principals, contractors, business and community representatives, and of course the parents of our school, of our students. And we welcome you and thank you all for coming. At this time, Mrs. Wanda Cromer will lead us in our opening exercises. Now, Mrs. Cromer is a special education teacher here at Marshall Street School, and she's also an administrative intern working through Penn State University for her elementary principal certification. Mrs. Cromer?
Good morning. This year's theme for American Education Week is Schools and the Community, Partners for a Strong America. The success of our schools as we enter the 21st century will involve a collaborative effort by parents, the business community, and our educational leaders. Relationships must be formed between the home and the school and the community and industry. In his State of the Union address, President Bush called on businessmen and schools to join together in restructuring education. Industry has asked us to embrace the educational vision that says we allow each child to achieve whatever he or she is capable of, and to recognize that underlying that vision is the desire to let each child be a contributor to the globally competitive economic system, an intelligent citizen, and a moral and ethical person. We ask our parents to begin the schooling process before the doors of the school open through effective parenting. And as educators, we're asked to buy into a common world-class curriculum that demands competency not only in basic skills, but also in higher level thinking. It is the people of our country that have made it great throughout our history. Our children are the future of this country. We must begin today as partners to work to help them meet the challenges that lie ahead. Will you please now stand and join me in the pledge of the flag, followed by our national anthem.
Thank you, Mrs. Cromer. We have a few people that would like to say a few words this morning, and they're seated up front here. I'd like to introduce to you our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. James Holton. Dr. Holton.
As I stand here today, I'm extremely excited because what you're seeing or will see in this building represents Norristown and the Norristown Area School District on the move into that 21st century that we keep talking about so much. But what's so exciting about this morning, in my very brief remarks, is the representation of people who are here. People who care about our school system, who believe in our school system, and know that we're just about the best you can find anywhere, pound for pound, diversity-wise and every other wise. There's no question about it. I feel very, very deeply about those of you here today who came before the current administrators and teachers, because you paved the way for the excellence that we have in our schools. You will be introduced accordingly shortly. I would like to acknowledge a couple people in my mind who made this possible. Mr. Rader, to the Board of School Directors and to the Board of School Directors that had this vision in the first place, right up through the current day, we thank you most deeply. I know I speak for everybody when I say how much it is so meaningful to these children that you see right here before us and the future of our nation. And it was the vision of this board, the support of the board, and all the details that had to be gone through that has made this possible. And we very, very much deeply acknowledge that, and you will be introducing those board members shortly. I would like to have, for just a moment, current administrators in the Norristown Area School District. Just stand for a moment, if you would. Current administrators, central office and otherwise. And you have Dr. Gould, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Bob Shields, Director of Personnel, Doris Harris, and Doris, you were here at Marshall Street School as a lead teacher, so you have a special pride about being here. You're now, of course, Principal of Cole Manor. Cliff Rogers, in the back there, who's Principal of Roosevelt Annex and Lincoln School. Bill Goldschmidt, Supervisor in Special Education. Mr. Jim Scott, Director of Pupil Services. Mr. Michael Brasloff, who's newly arrived with us in the back there, is our Supervisor of Reading, and Mr. Tom Padden. And Tom, you had a great deal to do with this, as well as the Operations Department, and of course, Teresa Carthagena, who's Principal of Paul Fly School. You may be seated now, if you will. But to those people, they deserve a huge thank you. And Jay, if you would, I'll let you introduce the people associated with Dicerwood and Wolf, and you can make a few remarks. I don't know if he's on the program or not, but I'd like to recommend that he be there. And then, Bob, I'd like you to stand up for a minute, if you would, and help me introduce the township people with us, because they mean so much to us. If the West Norton and East Norton and borough representatives could stand for a moment, I would appreciate it. Would you just stand, and then I want to make sure I get everyone there. So would you like to introduce
To my
someone?
left, that's my assistant, Kelly Hinsworth. President of the Board of Supervisors, East Martin Township, John Victor. Joe Hines is the Public Works Director of West Martin Township. Ed McCandless is our new Township Manager, just started on the job yesterday. And the President of the Board is retiring in January, Margaret Bailey.
I'd like to have the past administrators, former administrators, if you would stand a minute. Bill and others there, just make sure we get everyone. Bill Kohler, principal for many years, and Bill, you wore many, many hats, and love this school district as much as anyone does. And we thank you for coming today. And Charlotte, you want to some other comments?
I'd like to the former teachers that are here, retired or visiting, that taught here at one time, would you please stand up? Former teachers. Okay, very good. Please stand. I'd like to tell you who they are, all right? Would you please stand? This is Kay Place, who taught 4th grade in the red suit in the front. Mrs. Audrey Tarrant, librarian. Mr. Kurt Kuhl, health and physical education. Mrs. Anna Mae Morgan, who taught 5th grade. And Mrs. Kitty Dahlman in the back, who taught 1st grade. And over here to our right, Mrs. Ginny Ferguson, who taught 5th grade and then 3rd grade. Thank you for
singing of the children is absolutely beautiful, as always. I'd like to give you a round of applause, too. One final comment in terms of acknowledgement. Mrs. Bailey, Mr. Hine, and West Norton Township commissioners and people, I can still remember when we were opening the new addition and new school, we had last-minute details, and your cooperation, support, and help was absolutely outstanding. I can't tell you how much we appreciated all that you did to work closely with us in terms of getting through the maze of red tape and you name it. So it's tremendously appreciated. Is there anyone we have forgotten? I suppose. Okay, that's going to come shortly, and this is Meg will take care of all that. My remarks will be extremely brief, and it's really very much as simple as this. When we decided to put an addition, by we, meaning collectively all of us here, decided to put an addition in this school, we decided that we were going to do a number of things, including the roof, including the painting of many rooms, and by the way, this is the last stage. We didn't quite make it by today, but you can see that it will be done shortly, this multi-purpose room as well. The point is that the facilities have to be number one, and with Joe Licata and Tom Patton's operations department and the architects and engineers who Jay will announce shortly or introduce shortly, we believe very deeply in the Norristown area school districts that there are about 3 or 4 things that must be completely focused and intact. One is discipline has to be firm, fair, and friendly, and consistent at all times. And it is. It has to be. You have to have a safe environment, a learning environment. And secondly, you have to have a place where youngsters want to come to school, where it's clean, where it's well kept, where preventive maintenance is the rule of thumb, where you're ahead of the game all the time, not always trying to catch up. It's done in Norristown. In fact, in that category, I don't know of a school district anywhere that does it better. But the main thing that I want to say is this. When we designed this addition with the architects and the principals and the teachers, it was the teachers and Mrs. Meg and the principals who sat down for hours on end and said, this is what we want for a fine learning educational facility. Now when you take the tour, and that'll be announced shortly also, you'll notice how that gymnasium and the library are really absolutely magnificent. And that library has to be the center of all that we're about. It's going to be a leader in terms of technology, in terms of the books, and what have you. So that's the main thing I want to say. With all the things we need to keep in mind, it's the learning and the educational program that's most important. And secondly, in terms of 2 of the most important things, but it's frequently overlooked, is community use. That gymnasium isn't just for these children. That gymnasium is for the entire community. And if you go to our schools day in and day out, almost 24 hours a day, you'll see that they're being used and being used wisely and well. And it's for this reason that we believe our schools are thriving and that our community is happy and so supportive as it is. And with that, Mrs. Meng, we have a lengthy presentation here, so I'd like to thank you for inviting all of us and enjoy your tour in a few short moments after the program. So thank you very much.
My pleasure now to introduce Mr. Clarence Rader, the president of our school board. Mr. Rader.
Thank you very much for inviting me today. I'd first like to introduce the members of the current school board. Would they please stand up? Nancy, don't make a face. Mrs. Huntley, Mrs. Custer, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Smith in the back. Are there any prior board members here? Where's Mr. Christie? Our new board member coming on. Prior board members? Charlie, you know you got to stand up. Charlie spent 22 and a half years on the school board. I know that may make you tired and you want to sit down. Thank you for standing. There are many times at school board meetings, it gets on the verge of amusing. If it were not for the fact that the job we have is so important for these children, to provide facilities to provide an atmosphere of education. It's indeed a pleasure to stand outside and listen to the children practicing before you started today. The condition of the building, the discipline of the children, unless you come visit our schools, you cannot have any appreciation for what is going on in the district. There were many meetings when we were discussing whether or not to put on an addition. We were discussing the number of classrooms we needed and how many children were coming into the district over the next number of years. It's always a guessing game as to exactly how many children there will be. But if we do not have room to house them, if we do not have room to educate them, we haven't done our homework well enough. We discussed many evenings about putting temporary trailers up. We discussed about renovating the old Lincoln School. We do not want to have articles in the paper that say a school was shut down because of asbestos and danger to the children. We do not want to say education was interrupted because a building was found to have too much radon. It is an obligation of the people in the community to provide an education and a suitable place for it. The members of the school board, prior and current, have the responsibility of taking the heat, as you would say, when it comes to spending the money. But what a pleasure it is today to see the fruits of some of that labor. It takes an awful lot of cooperation with the townships, the borough, the contractors, and certainly a great burden on the administration to put together the necessary information required for this. I'm sorry for the children's sake that it was inconvenient. I certainly hope that at this point in time they're happy with the results of it. It's so nice to see prior teachers, prior students to come and enjoy that which has been provided. We certainly wish you well, Mrs. Mang, with the school. We appreciate being here today, and certainly we hope the children enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rader.
One other introduction I'd like to make is Mr. Charles Potash, who just arrived. He's a solicitor to the board. Would you stand up, Charles, please? One of the most important people of all is the secretary to the board, Mrs. Libby Mitchell. So Libby, please stand.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you now a very important part of our family, Mrs. Peggy Sclafani, president of our Parent Faculty Club.
Good morning and welcome. As you know, the Parent Faculty Club plays a large role in supporting Marshall Street School. Many people volunteer their energy and time to perform tasks such as organizing our fundraisers, which finance many of our projects. These projects include sponsoring the assembly programs, supplementing our RIC program, where 3 times a year each child in the school receives a book to keep for their own, providing educational materials for the classroom, providing gifts to each class at holiday time, supplementing the cost of class trips, and providing for the Young Authors Conference, where children write and illustrate their own books and then publish them. Volunteers also assist teachers in classrooms, help during lunch periods, chaperone class trips, and even bake for special events such as today. Thousands of hours are donated by many of you to help support our school each year. It is a fact that children do well in school when their parents and guardians are involved. And I'm proud to say
that the parent involvement at Marshall Street School is great. It takes a special person to be able to donate their valuable time, whether they work in the home or outside of it. In 1957, when the school was first opened, the Parent Faculty Club was known as the Mothers Club of West Norton. Their foundation is what we continue to build on. Mrs. Mang has invited all the past presidents of the Parent Faculty Club here today. If they would now stand and be recognized.
We have in the front row Mrs. Catherine Yatsko and Mrs. Olive Sneath. We have Mrs. Libby Mitchell and Mrs. Nancy Foster. We have Shirley Bean, Mrs. Shirley Bean. Where is she? She was here, maybe she's visiting in the classrooms. I appreciate very much of coming. Thank you very much.
We welcome you back to your school and thank you for starting us on the right path to success with our children. We will strive to continue building for the generations yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Klavani. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you our concert choir, all 150 plus students, and Mr. John Bednar.
Many things have happened in the last couple of years. The Berlin Wall has been removed, and now the Soviet Union is under reconstruction, and even the hostages are more and more being released as of yesterday, and coming hopefully in the next month. But there is still unrest in the world. The next song is entitled, "Where is the Peace?"